Hi guys, welcome back to Beat Sweet's Farm. Today I'm going to show you how I make my farm style white bread. This recipe is so easy, it's basically foolproof. It has a few simple ingredients that you just dump into one bowl and you get a nice soft bread with a crunchy outside. If you follow this recipe exactly, you should get about 2 loaves, depending on your loaf size. But of course you can feel free to double the recipe to make some more loaves or even half it if you only want to make one. So let's start with the ingredients. You're going to need 5 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of yeast, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I used 2 cups of warm water and a 1/4 cup of oil. I used olive oil in this recipe. You can use vegetable oil, melted butter, as long as it's some type of fat. Alright, so here I am just dumping all the ingredients into my mixing bowl. I put in the flour, and this is the 2 tablespoons of yeast. Then you can see me adding the 2 tablespoons of sugar. And this is just following the recipe. Sometimes I like to add a little bit more sugar and salt, but you have to figure out your own taste once you make it. And that was the salt. This is my olive oil. And then the last ingredient is my 2 cups of warm water. So you just mix that in the mixer until it's well incorporated. As you can see in the video, I'm going to be adding a little bit more flour. Sometimes, I guess it just depends on the humidity or on the flour you're using. Sometimes you gotta add a little extra. But then other times I notice the recipe just works out exactly how it's written. So it's something you just have to experiment with. So as that's starting to mix, you're gonna see that it's kind of like sticking at the bottom of the bowl, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to be adding a little bit extra flour. No specific measurements, you just add a little bit. I think I added about a little less than 1/4 cup. So this is more of what you're looking for. You're looking for a ball of dough that's not exactly sticking to the mixing bowl. So I'm going to speed up the mixer a little bit so it's kind of like kneading it, or you can do this step by hand too. So now I'm just going to scrape off the excess dough off the dough hook. And then we're going to cover this and let it rise up about double in size. It is double in size. That took about 5-6 minutes, not too long. I'm going to take it out of the bowl and then on a floured surface to start kneading the dough a little bit by hand, just to make sure all the air bubbles are out from the proofing. And I'm going to be splitting this dough into 2 because I'm going to make 2 loaves. You can split it any way you want. You can make smaller loaves or just leave it as one big size for a big loaf if you have a bigger loaf pan than mine. This is when I like to preheat my oven too. You're going to preheat it to 400 degrees. The reason I wait to preheat it is because you're going to let the bread proof again in the loaf pan. So it's kind of the same timing. As soon as that oven is done preheating, your bread should be ready to be popped into the oven. So from here, I'm just forming my dough in kind of the same size as my loaf pan. So at the same time while you're rolling it, you're covering the whole dough surface in flour so that it doesn't stick to the pan. You don't need to spray anything on the pan. The flour will do all the work so that it won't stick. So we're ready for the second proofing time. Here I'm just pressing the dough into the pan just so that it covers every corner. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to cover this again with my towel and we're going to proof it again until it's about double in size. So here they are. It's about double in size. They're ready, and something I like to do is slice little decorative slices on the top. I think it looks nice. So that's the last thing I'm going to do before putting them in the oven. I like to bake them for about half an hour, but sometimes depending on your oven, you might have to bake it for less or more than that. One way I like to check it is by using a thermometer. Kind of one trick I learned, if you stick the thermometer in the middle of the bread, as long as it reaches 190 degrees, that means that the dough in the middle is going to be cooked for sure. So these have definitely hit 190 degrees, so they're ready to come out. And I take them out of the pan and put them on a cooling rack to cool, because you don't want the condensation from the pan to get the bottom of your bread wet. So putting them in a cooling rack allows the air circulation so that the outside stays crusty. Just allow them to cool for a little bit before slicing. If you want like a softer crust, you can also put them in a bag. That'll soften up the crust, kind of like the store-bought sandwich bread that you buy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know if you tried this recipe. Oh, I forgot to mention, you can also add your choice of toppings like cheese, sesame seeds, or even cinnamon sugar. You would just add that like right before you put it in the oven to bake. And it's just an all-around great recipe to start with. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one.